What is up, Voltrons? Welcome inside the vault for your noonday lunch live stream. Let's get it. My name is Sarah Ellison, and my co-host Bobby Trossett. He's chilling in Denver, Colorado right now. He's out there with his sister and his future brother-in-law, and they're just enjoying the Easter weekend together. I know he starts coming back later tonight, and so we wish him well, wish him happy Easter. But boy, do I have a ton of content to get through today. As we speak, this day, it's the beginning of the Ravens off-season workout program. And you guys, I'm going to need a little bit of help from you because usually I've got Bobby here and we can kind of, while one person's talking, one person is checking Twitter and other things. The Ravens will have a press conference at 12:15 in the middle of this. It's a strength and conditioning kind of press conference. So Scott Elliott, who heads that whole department up, will be speaking, and then some selected players. I don't know who they're going to be. So if you guys see any news coming out of that, let me know. Otherwise, we will cover that news conference tomorrow. But for today, what do I have on the docket? Well, first of all, Eric DeCosta's gamble, his calculated gamble, paid off with Ardarius Washington. We'll get into that first. Then Malachi Starks, he was on the Rich Eisen show, talked about several of the visits he's had, including the visit to the Ravens and the strangest questions he was asked. And I got the feeling that the strangest question, I don't know, did it come from the Ravens? It felt like it did. Let me know what you guys think. Then also, over the weekend, I went on a radio show. In fact, let me pull this up right now. I went on to a radio show to represent the Ravens in an ultimate mock draft. It's called Unnecessary Roughness with Raider Nation Radio on 920 a.m. there in Las Vegas. And so these are the players that were already taken. So I wanted to bring it up before I get through the news today, because when I hit this section of our show, I want to know who you guys would have taken. Who would you guys have taken given the list that's already right there of guys already? Malachi Starks was taken at 26 right before the Ravens. Donovan Ezeraku was gone. Tyler Booker was gone. All sorts of players. Mike Green's gone. All sorts of pass rushers, all of that. And so with the board I was dealt coming into this, I'm going to play for you guys later who I chose for the Ravens, but take a look at this board. Let me know who you would have gotten. If you want your pick flashed up on the screen, go ahead and do a super chat. That'll also help me see them because I don't get to watch the chat as much without my partner in crime here. So I'll get into that. Also, Adam Schefter dishes on the Lamar Jackson contract situation, kind of gives a timeline that he thinks could be going on with Lamar. And also Chad Ochocinco. We covered this last week when the Browns GM said that Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama, was faster than Lamar Jackson. Chad Ochocinco on Nightcap was not happy. And then finally, what I'm going to get to is a new study that was done about which fan base is the moodiest. Which fan base is the moodiest both after a loss and after a win. And I gotta say, I feel like it nailed the Ravens fan base. All right. Does that sound like enough content for you? Oh, and by the way, I'm going to give you my 3 people who I think need to have an outstanding off-season program, since that program is starting today. Lots and lots to get to. But first, let's get into the gamble that paid off for Eric DeCosta. So a couple of weeks ago, might even be a couple of months at this point, the off-season's melding all together for me. Eric DeCosta had a decision to make with his safety, Ardarius Washington. Ardarius Washington, one of the heroes of this past season that somehow stopped the tremendous bleeding that was going on in the defensive backfield last year. We know that they finished 32nd in the league. Sorry, but that's not the Ravens way, but 32nd in the league in yards, pass yards given up per game. But it was a lot. It was always number 32, but the bleeding finally stopped around week 10. And that's when they transitioned Kyle Hamilton back to a full-time safety role and then brought in Ardarius Washington. Well, given how successful Ardarius was, the Ravens had to make a decision when they put a tender on him because he was not signed to a long-term contract. We don't know what's going on there. Ardarius had a couple tweets. And so how much did Eric DeCosta need to try to protect Ardarius? He had the choice of giving him a first-round tender, which the NFL requires that if you give a first round, then you would have had to pay him basically $7.5 million. What about a second-round tender? Well, if he signed that, he'd have to be paid $5.3 million. Or do you just do the lowest tender, which is the right of first refusal, and then only pay him $3.2 million? Now, of course, all of this means that they put those tenders on these guys, but if somebody else comes in and signs him, then that means that you would have gotten a first-round draft pick if somebody signed him when you put a first-round tender on him. Same thing with second round. If you gave him that tender and somebody else signed him, then you deserve a second-round pick. But if you do just right of first refusal, you get nothing. You get nothing if Ardarius Washington walks. Well, the deadline for another team to sign Ardarius Washington came and went over the weekend when Eric DeCosta used the lowest tender, right of first refusal at $3.2 million. Jeff Zrebeck shared this news, I believe, on Friday after our show. Maybe it was Saturday. He tweets, Ravens, restricted free agent. Ardarius Washington had until the end of business day today to sign an offer sheet with another team. All quiet on that front after the Ravens took a slight gamble with the $3.26 million right of first refusal tender. That granted no compensation if Washington departed. So the clock has struck zero. Ardarius Washington either has to sign with the Ravens or will not play in the National Football League in 2025. Something tells me he's going to sign that tender. When will he sign that tender? Well, according to Jeff, he says he doesn't know the exact day, but his guess is that his agent is going to want Ardarius to sign it before the draft, as we all know, is in just, count them, 3 days. 3 days until the draft. And so he feels like it needs to be signed before then, because you wouldn't want the Ravens to draft a safety and then pull the tender. So we'll see if there's any Ardarius Washington news coming from the Baltimore Ravens or Ardarius himself or one of his agents saying that he indeed signed. But it was the right move. It was the right move. Eric took a slight gamble, thinking as well as Ardarius Washington played last season, he didn't think anybody else would come along and take him. And that is what happened. And so this is your depth chart right now for the Ravens safety position group. You lead the way with one of the best safeties in all of the NFL, All-Pro Kyle Hamilton. Then you've got back his partner in crime with Ardarius Washington. And then you've got two rookies from last season. You've got Sanusi Kane and Bo Braid. And so the question becomes, what will the Ravens do with the safety position in the draft? Now, if Sanusi Kane and Bo Braid were able to take, or at least one of them could take a big step up, that'd be awesome. You've got legitimate depth. But last year, these two rookies were mostly special teams players, and they played well in that role. Could they take on more on defense? Well, that's all going to depend on what goes down in this draft, which brings me to talking about Malachi Starks. Malachi is probably the most popular mock draft pick to the Ravens that I've seen out there. There's a couple of popular ones, but Mel Kiper is the conductor on this train, and I've seen a lot of other draft analysts jump on that train and take this ride with Malachi Starks. Now, Malachi was recently on a show with Rich Eisen, and Rich was doing his best to get out some news from Malachi. Malachi is clearly savvy in the media. He didn't want to tip his hand of where he'd like to go. He didn't want to tip his hand as to who had the best visit. He said he has visited with all 32 teams. And so he was trying to keep it pretty coy as to where he would like to end up, now that he has much control of where he'll wind up. So Rich Eisen did ask about the Ravens and then asked, what was the strangest question he's received so far?
It was good. It was real good. They love ball and I love ball, so I'm blessed.
All right, so then let's not mention teams in specific. What's the weirdest question you were asked throughout this entire process?
Somebody asked me how I would describe the color purple to a blind person.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
How would you describe the color purple to a blind person? That's how. And how did you respond to that question?
I didn't really know it. It really threw me off. So I was like, blind people that have their other senses are heightened. So like if you feel the color, I guess it's like a dark feeling color. Very dark, like neutral, heavy. It made sense in the moment, but I didn't really know the answer. I didn't know what to say, so it just kind of happened.
I don't understand it. Like, you know what? Here's here's my film, coach, or whoever asked you that question. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that would. What the right answer is, and go, okay, now all my doubts about Malachi Starks and what I saw on film are gone. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it, man. That's kind of weird.
Rich saying what all of us are thinking. Like, why ask that? Like, what do you have to gain by asking Malachi Starks, arguably the top safety in this year's 2025 NFL draft? What information are you gaining by saying, tell me how you would describe the color purple to a blind person? I don't know. I'm with Rich there. Like, oh, okay. Well, hey, I had this concern about you, but because you described the color purple so well, let's go. Let's go. How would you describe the color purple? I always think royalty, a little bit regalness, kind of a deeper, more passionate color, maybe. Yeah. But listen, I don't know why whoever asked this, asked it in the first place, why he decided to use the color purple. That's got people thinking, is this the Ravens or Vikings that asked this? And I'll be if one of those Raven scouts asked this question, I just need him to come forward and tell us why. Why are we doing this? So we'll see. We're a few days away to seeing if Mel Kiper gets the guy that he's been asking for this entire time. I mean, I feel like almost every version of his mock drafts has been Malachi to the Ravens. I wouldn't hate it, but we shall see. Okay. So that brings us to what I kind of like set the stage for. Okay. So I go on unnecessary roughness with your boy Q. And he's been on our show before. He's been great when we've needed to talk some Raiders news, especially remember he came on when we wanted information on Devontae Adams. He was showing signs that he wanted to be traded or wanted to get out. So we need to get a beat on that. Great guy. So I was asked to represent the Ravens in this mock draft that they got going on 9:20 in Las Vegas, 9:20 a.m. And I was really hoping, I'll be honest, that Donovan Ezeraku was going to fall to number 27. But he was gone by 17. 10 draft picks before my liking. So I was like, is there going to be another? Because there's like a handful of pass rushers that are kind of ranked all near each other. Mike Green's gone. Mikael Williams is gone. Sorry, but I'm not into Shamar Stewart. He was still there. Wasn't trying to do that. Malachi Starks was gone. Nick Emanwori was gone. Who else? Tyler Booker. Some people talking about offensive line. I was like, dang, they're all gone. So Cameron's asking, where was Mike Green? Mike Green is number 15. So that's way too early. I think I saw somebody. Yeah. People guessing on who I picked, but I want to know who you would have picked. Nolan, seeing some people say Nolan. Jihad Campbell, he was gone. Look, where is he at? He was gone at number 19. He gone. Any others? Man, you got almost nobody making guesses here. All right. I was actually kind of happy. Okay, Nolan's an answer. Cameron, let me start your question. I'll get to that later. Walter Nolan. Okay, everybody wants Nick Emanwori is gone. He's gone. Let's go. Look at the list here, folks. All right. Here we go. I've got the audio. Here's how it all unfolded.
All right, well, we've gone around the division. We talked about the defensive side of things with Baltimore. What do they need to do to take the next step? Sarah, you're on the clock. Baltimore's in there at number 27. What are they doing in our ultimate mock draft here?
Well, with Malachi Starks gone at the pick before us, Donovan Ezaraku's gone. Was hoping they would fall, but you know who did fall? Edge rusher out of Tennessee, James Pierce Jr., the long and lean edge rusher who is explosive, athletic, has had 17 and a half sacks over the last 2 years, 22 tackles for loss, can be explosive, can use speed to get around offensive linemen. The Ravens will add him to the mix of Kyle Van Noy and Odafe Owe. He won't have to start right away, but he will be needed immediately, and he'll be able to make an immediate impact and then eventually replace Kyle Van Noy, who can both drop back and rush the passer. So the Ravens select James Pierce Jr.
Wouldn't that be such a Baltimore Ravens pick?
It would be such a Baltimore Ravens pick. I loved watching you guys in the chat. Some of you are ticked off. Ew, booing me. Evan calling him a bust. John saying yuck, all these things. Some people wanted Walter Nolan. We talking about Mississippi, defensive tackle out of Mississippi. Nah, my pick was better. Listen, here's what Nolan, or excuse me, I just dropped my pen. Listen, edge rushers where it's at. And Pierce has obviously the size and skill set that you want. He's got the athleticism that you want. He's got the build. He's got pretty decent production. I said it on there. I think it was 17 and a half sacks over the last 2 years. Tackles for loss galore. This is not like an Odafe Owe or a Shamar Stewart situation where there's no production. This is production out of Tennessee. Okay, this isn't in some, small school program where you're just looking for a diamond in the rough. He's got all that. And he could be in the situation where you say, see quarterback, get quarterback. And in the long run, what he can also do is drop back in coverage, even though that's kind of Kyle Van Noy does some of that. But no, that's a good pick. That's a good pick at number 27. Can't believe how many of you don't believe in James Pierce Jr. James Pierce Jr. All right. Well, I got tomatoes, but I got some people liking it. There are some character concerns there. That's true. But I wasn't doing it based off of that. Ravens are gonna have to look into that. I can't look into all that. And I don't know. Sometimes those reports are kind of, I just hate burying these kids. And so that's why you gotta have your scouts looking into all this and know what kind of person he is. But how do I know? Who he is? So no, I think that would be a great pick given what was on the board. And I think it was the right pick. Thank you very much. All right, let's check in on some super chats. Okay. We got one here from Sod Blitz. Thank you very much, Sod. He says, you know who I want? If I was GM, I would send Andrews. I'm not bringing Andrews up this time, just an FYI. This is not my fault this time, Sod Blitz. I would send Andrews and number 59, a 4 and 2 6s to Denver for number 20 to get ahead of Minnesota, to get him and keep the number 27 pick. To get who, Sod? You're sending 2 6s to Denver. Oh, for their number 20? Can we get some names here? I don't know everybody's jersey names. To Denver. Are you saying for their number 20 pick to get ahead of Minnesota to get him and keep the number 27 pick? Are you talking about Donovan Ezaraku? I'm so confused. Yeah, you sure are sending a lot if you're saying I want to go up to get Donovan Ezaraku. All right, let's look at the draft order because I'm so lost as to what he's talking about here. Draft order. Let's see here. Draft picks by round. He's saying number 20 to get ahead. Let's see here. Denver Broncos there. Just tell me who you're talking about, Saad. Who do you want? Who do you want? Who are you asking here? He's setting Andrews and picks for 20. Yeah, but to get who? He said to get him. Who's him? I don't know who he's talking about. Cameron Walker here asking me how my Easter speech was. I'll come back to that. I will say it went very well. I was really happy with the way it all went down. All right. Let's see here. Where are we next? Okay. As I talked about at the top of the show, the Ravens have begun their off-season workout program. Started today. As you can see here, Ravens put out on Twitter, just some guys doing some sled pushing here. I think that's David Ajabo right there. That Travis Jones. I think that's Travis Jones. Guys digging deep. I think they sent out another video of Justin Matabike just dancing in the weight room. So here's what is and is not allowed during this portion of the offseason workouts. They cannot go out on the field. They can't put on weights or pads, excuse me. They can't, do anything football wise, but they can go to meetings. They can do some strength and conditioning. And then the guys that are rehabbing, they can do their rehabs. So that's all that's allowed right now. If they did any more than that, that would be against the rules. So later on, we will get, OTAs and all that kind of stuff, but that's all that can be done right now. And I do believe the press conference with Scott Elliott is supposed to have started at 12:15. Not seeing much by way of news right now. But I wanted to name three people who I feel like need to be in there right now, right? All of this is voluntary. Lamar Jackson does not need to be there right now, for example, or, Zay Flowers or a Mark Andrews or anything like that. They certainly can if they want to go lift weights with their teammates. But I'm not too worried about them. Come OTA time, we can talk about those guys again. But I mean, all they're doing is working out. You can do that from anywhere. Okay, so three people that I feel like need to have a big off-season program. The first person I'm going to talk about is Andrew Voorhees. Okay, Andrew, after off-season programs last year and after training camp, he had won the starting left guard position. That was after he had to spend essentially his entire rookie year rehabbing from his injury during the combine in 2023. And so he started, Voorhees did. He started for the first 3 games, but was sidelined for weeks 4 and 5 due to an ankle injury. So John Harbaugh put in his super sub. And McCary, as we all know. And John later said, once Voorhees was healthy again, that he just felt like there were so many new starters along the offensive line, and they were finally starting to gel. He didn't want to mess with the chemistry of the offensive line. And so Voorhees never got a chance to re-win that starting spot. Well, lo and behold, here we are. April, just a few days before the draft, where the Ravens very well could draft another guard and could very well be in competition with Voorhees. I promise you, if I'm Andrew Voorhees, there is no way in Hades I'm giving that job up to a rookie. Can't happen. This has been delayed. He's had to have patience. I know he's been nonstop at the Ravens facility, working out and rehabbing since basically the day he was drafted. He wants that left guard job back. If a rookie were to come in here and steal it, that would be on him. He's healthy. He's had 2 years learning an NFL system. This is massive for him. Could be career changing starting right now with the offseason programs. It'll be career changing to see how healthy he can get, how much he can, continue to learn about the NFL game and try to win that left guard spot. But he will have competition, which is always good. Second guy that I will say needs a good offseason program, and that is Trenton Simpson. This is another guy that lost his starting role. He began the season next to Roquan Smith. He has all the physical attributes. He has all the energy. He has all of that. But unlike Voorhees, who lost his job due to injury, Trenton Simpson lost his job due to play. He didn't have an injury that took him out. This is a review from CBS Sports that Simpson was fairly productive over Baltimore's first 11 games, accumulating 65 tackles, 34 solo over that time. However, his defensive snap count took a noticeable dip in week 12, which coincided with more playing time from Malik Harrison and Chris Board. So he just got outplayed. He got outplayed. Everything was going wrong in the Ravens defense. And hey, maybe with the way everything that was going down in the secondary, how many issues they were having at safety, all that type of stuff, that probably wasn't the best circumstances for a first-time starter to get in there. So maybe that gives hope that he can turn things around. But his issue has nothing to do with health. His issue has nothing to do with opportunity. His issue is just figuring out in the NFL game. And maybe he will follow in Patrick Queen's shoes, where it just clicked for him a little bit later, which is more palatable as a third-round pick instead of a first-round pick that Patrick Queen was. But Trenton Simpson is another guy. Some of you guys wanted me to draft with that number 27 pick, Swessinger, linebacker out of UCLA. Maybe that'll happen. But just like Voorhees, if I'm Trenton Simpson, I know competition's on the way. He's got a bit of a head start. He doesn't have to worry about the draft. He didn't have to worry about the combine. He didn't have to worry about his Senior Bowl. He didn't have to worry about any of that. He is not going to want to give that up, that starting role. He's penciled in as the starter right now. Can he hold on to it? Again, it starts now. The third guy I'm going to put out, and we could have certainly some honorable mentions, but the third guy I have is TJ Tampa. I just remember people raving about Baltimore being able to get him with the 130th pick in the 4th round. Some people saying that he should have been a second rounder. He's another one that was dealt with injuries. He's got the size, prototypical size that you would like. He could play on the outside. Wouldn't it be something if he really was worth that second round pick? If he really was worth that value, because a second rounder by a second year, why can't he maybe start opposite Nate Wiggins? But we don't know because he hasn't been healthy. We got to hope that he does not fall in the shoes of, say, a Pepe Williams or even a Jalen Armour-Davis, who also could use a huge offseason program. But hopefully he doesn't follow down their same road where he just could never, ever get healthy enough to stay on the field and improve and develop and become an impactful cornerback. This is another one. He's got Cheeto Awuzie there. That's going to be competition. But if he's what people were saying he was when he was coming out of the draft, and that he was probably the steal of the draft, then he should be able to compete with Cheeto. So big offseason for him to show that he can indeed compete and try to win defensive snaps at the cornerback position. There are some other sleepers. I think David Ajabo, once again, needs a big offseason program. We saw him there in that video. He's there. Keaton Mitchell is another guy. Now, Keaton I didn't put in my top 3. I mean, he definitely needs it. But I had to put him in my top 3 because I feel like even if he does bounce back, the opportunity isn't there the way it is for Voorhees or Simpson or TJ Tampa. It's going to be tough for Keaton to steal snaps away from the king, Derrick Henry, or from Justice Hill based off of what he did last year and the pass protection that he gave to Lamar Jackson. So he still needs a big one. How about the safeties I named? Bo Braid, Sanusi Kane. They both could use big ones as they want to try to fight for safety snaps. I mean, the Ravens use big nickel a lot where they have 3 safeties out there. So those guys will need a big offseason too. But those were my top 3. All right, here we go. Side Blitz gave me some clarification from before. He says he would send Andrews in a round 2, pick 59, plus a round 4, plus 2 6 rounds for, oh, I see. It was for Starks, for round 1, pick number 20 to get Starks plus $14 million of cap. Oh, Assad, I appreciate you, but I think you're overpaying. You must think that like Starks is the next Ed Reed, which they're two completely different players, but I'm talking about in terms of impact. That feels like a lot. That feels like a lot to go up and get Starks. To me, if you're going to move up, it's got to be, I don't know, somebody who in a position where they can have more impact on the game. I don't know. But I appreciate the super chat, and I love the ideas, brainstorming, kind of getting out here. Okay. Let's change gears here for a second. So last week, the Baltimore Sun's Brian Wacker got an interview with Adam Schefter, who's as plugged in as anybody when it comes to contract talk. However, it's very hard to be plugged in to contract discussions between Eric DeCosta and Lamar Jackson, two of the most secretive people I've ever come across in this NFL business. I know because I worked with Eric DeCosta. I know how scouts' minds work. They want no information out there ever until, signatures are on the dotted line. They do not like information out there even 2 minutes before they have locked up people, whether it's a draft pick or a free agent. Lamar Jackson, we know he keeps his inner circle tight. So I don't know how much Adam Schefter, who's the king of getting news, how much he actually knows. But he was asked by Brian Wacker about this, the situation that's going on in terms of trying to renegotiate and give Lamar Jackson a contract extension. Obviously, for that to happen, Lamar would need to become the highest paid quarterback again. Right now, he's number 6 in terms of average pay per year. But Adam Schefter says re-signing Lamar Jackson to an extension is a, quote, no-brainer. When you have a franchise quarterback, it's like having a bank you can always borrow against. We see it all the time with all these other great quarterbacks. It's so true. Ravens fans are always reminding me for sure that the cap you can manipulate it. But this is the easiest place to go do it. It's when your quarterback is making a ton of money, but it's not just any quarterback. It has to be a quarterback that is going to be around for a while. And the Ravens are going to want to hold on to Lamar Jackson for his entire career. And so Adam Schefter goes on. The value for Lamar Jackson is the top. When Lamar gets paid, he's going to be the highest paid player in football, just like he was last time. I think every contract he signs, probably until he decides to hang up his cleats, he's going to be that guy. Every new extension. Could you imagine every couple of years? Here's another, $70 million check? Oh. I mean, just keep coming. Just keep them coming. And that's the incentive for all these quarterbacks, including Lamar Jackson, right? You continue to extend because every time you do, you get a fat check. And another one's just 2 or 3 years away. And then the team just keeps kicking it down the road and you just keep collecting checks. Just one right after another so that they can manipulate the cap to put somewhat of a good team around, expensive quarterbacks. So what could the time frame look like? Adam Schefter says, I'm sure at some point before the start of the season, no rush, the Ravens will probably address Lamar Jackson's contract. I would like to think they've already met. Remember Eric DeCosta way back right when the season ended in January said that he was going to take a trip down to Florida to meet with Lamar. So my guess is the discussions have already begun. But Adam Schefter says before the start of the season. Says if you can get his contract redone, make him happier, and it's putting the organization, and it's not putting the organization at financial risk, which it wouldn't, then you get that done, and that's what I expect that they'll do. So Lamar, I remember the first time around was like, I'm not negotiating during the season. So I'm with Adam Schefter. It's going to happen this season. Got to start before the season begins. Lamar Jackson made that clear last time. And so if he's going to be the highest paid, what is that going to be? Well, in overall money, he's got to beat Josh Allen at $250 million over 6 years. In terms of Yearly average, well, the number one spot right now is Dak Prescott at $60 million. So that's where you're looking. You're looking to beat $60 million per year, that $250 million guaranteed from Josh Allen. Meanwhile, that's a big deal, by the way, to get that done. Can finally finish up some things here in the offseason of this year, but also you'll know what you get to work with going forward in 2026 and beyond. And you can start making plans of how you're going to build around Lamar each and every year. Meanwhile, remember last week, Browns GM Andrew Berry comparing Jalen Milroe to Lamar Jackson. He said that Milroe may be the only quarterback when he gets in the NFL who's faster than Lamar. I think we all realized that was silly. Maybe a good idea to compare any rookie to Lamar Jackson. But that's what he did. We reacted to it last week. But what about the guys at Nightcap? Chad Ochocinco, we all said, oh, that's silly. Of course, Lamar's faster because we have each quarterback's pro day times. Plus, when you talk about it, we're really talking about Lamar's elusiveness. Nobody can copy that. But Chad Ochocinco took it to another level. He felt like it was, quote, disrespectful.
Got rare physical talent. He may be the only, when he gets in the NFL, he may be the only quarterback who's faster than Lamar. Don't tell Lamar I said that, please. He's got rare physical gifts. He's strong, he's fast, he's got a really strong arm. He has things that no other players at the position.
Wow. Should he? Will he? Can he be a day one quarterback? And do you think he's faster than Lamar Jackson?
No, don't compare anybody to Lamar Jackson. It's disrespectful. It's disrespectful just because he has the attributes and he runs straight. He runs straight in a fast line. That's honestly, no, don't do that. Lamar Jackson is fast laterally. He's fast straight ahead. He's fast going backwards. It's different. Lamar Jackson is different. And even putting him in the conversation, Jalen Milroe, as great as he is. I watched him at Alabama. Phenomenal dude, I love what he's doing. He's going to have the opportunity to change someone's franchise. Hopefully he gets the opportunity to do so because obviously the Browns have done, not so much of a good job at picking quarterbacks for a very, very long time. But it's mad disrespectful, even in a joking manner, to compare Jalen Milroe to Lamar Jackson. Outside of that,
he just compared the speed, nothing else.
Yeah, but don't even do that part either. Don't even do that part. It's so funny. Lamar ran low 4.3s.
4.34.
And yeah, Jalen ran
4.37.
And then he says faster than Lamar Jackson. Like, what are we doing? You didn't do your homework? Did you not do your homework? Come on now.
Yeah, Lamar's speed is a very he got rare speed.
All right, so Chad Ochocinco saying that it's disrespectful. I agree with everything Chad said there, although I don't take it as disrespect. More than anything, I'm like, don't do that to Milroe. And I also see it as, well, everybody sees Lamar as the standard. So to me, it's a compliment. It's a compliment when people are trying to compare people to Lamar Jackson. People want quarterbacks to be as good as Lamar Jackson. They need Lamar Jackson, a Lamar Jackson-like guy out there. They're convincing themselves that there's a Lamar Jackson guy out there. So, if they say, well, he's as fast as Michael Vick, well, then Michael Vick becomes the standard. No, Lamar Jackson's the standard. Every time people do it, like, it's just like you're hurting the draft pick, but he sees it as disrespect. I see it as a compliment. And also, he's still wrong. GM Andrew Berry, he's still wrong. But the fact that people keep putting Lamar in their mouths when trying to compare quarterbacks that are up and coming, all they're saying is Lamar Jackson's the standard and they wish they had him. That's all they're saying. Now, I keep saying that it's not fair to these rookies, but Milroe, he didn't shy away from it when he was at the Senior Bowl. He said when he was asked about Lamar, he gave a lot of respect. He said, as a young quarterback that's aspiring to go to the NFL, that definitely puts a smile to my face, and I definitely love watching Lamar. Secretly, I'm actually a Ravens fan. I grew up a Ravens fan, so I pull for the Ravens. That's what Milroe said at the Senior Bowl. And you know what's funny? Here's what's crazy. It would not shock me at all if he grew up a Ravens fan and he ends up a Ravens enemy. What would it shock anybody here that either the Steelers or the Browns end up drafting Milroe? Jalen Milroe and Lamar Jackson in the same division? Very well could happen. Not guaranteeing it, but it very well could happen. Now, one last thing on Lamar, because during that video, I was able to check out Twitter to see what was going on at this press conference here. Let me zoom in here so you can see what I'm seeing. Just a little tidbits from the presser that are going on right now, according to the reporters that are there. So we've got strength and conditioning coordinator Scott Elliott. He was asked about how healthy the team has been since he took over. And, he's pretty happy about it for sure. He says injuries impact all 32, but this is Jeff Zrebeck, but Ravens have had 2 consecutive good years on the injury front. Elliott said it's been a matter of good preparation meshing with good luck. Absolutely. You can't take luck out of it whatsoever. But boy, is he off to a good start after the Ravens had to move on from their previous strength and conditioning coach. Now, speaking about Lamar Jackson, they asked him, how do you expect Lamar to report? Because the last couple of years, we've seen Lamar kind of toy around with his weight. He wanted to see how he felt at a heavier weight in 2023 or 2024. Then he came back last year, skinny Lamar. And I remember before we even saw him, Isaiah Likely was like, dang, he's fast. And so according to Scott Elliott, Lamar is going to come back again as skinny Lamar. That's how he will be returning. That's been his goal. So I assume that is what we'll see. Ryan Mink here. Lamar Jackson's leaner build last offseason was a big storyline. Scott Elliott, who oversees the Ravens strength and conditioning program, said his plan is the same this year after an MVP caliber season. Sounds like Roquan Smith is on the podium right now. We will definitely grab audio, the best audio from it for tomorrow. He's talking about how things didn't go the way they wanted to last year. So he wants to improve upon that. So that's their leader that they got in the offseason workouts right now. I don't expect Roquan will be there for the entire, I think it's 9-week program, but he's showing up, showing that he's still the leader, being there on day one, maybe trying to set the standard. And I think that's usually what the Ravens try to do, is they try to like rotate their leaders being at these workouts. So sure, for some of the OTAs, you'll see like Lamar there. Some of the OTAs, it'll be Kyle Hamilton. Some of the OTAs, like that's more how they try to do it. Don't make all of the leaders be there all the time. I mean, it is voluntary, but it's nice when they volunteer to be like, you know what? Okay, Marlon Humphrey, I'll be the leader, for this week of off-season training camp. And so it looks like Roquan Smith is that guy right now. And it sounds like here from Ryan Mink that he's had some training sessions with Trenton Simpson, who I just named as one of the 3 people who I think need to have a really big offseason and get ready for 2025. So he's already been working out with Trenton. Good. That's leadership. We need to get him there. Have that third rounder develop into something that we all thought he could be, which was the starter to take over from Patrick Queen. So I'll keep an eye on Twitter to see what else comes out from those press conferences. But Cameron made it point. Justin Madubuike is there right now. Another leader that's there. So good for him. I know that they put up pictures. They don't usually put up an attendance report, but they'll send out pictures and video, and we'll have that for you tomorrow. I know that'll come later today. The Ravens media department does that. All right. Let's switch gears here. I think this is the last topic before I hit some quick hits. Okay. This is funny. The Action Network did a study recently. And their study was to find out who is the NFL's most moody fan base. Most moody. When I read how they defined moody and how they figured it out, to me, it's another word of just saying, who's the angriest fan base? Okay. And they wanted to find out who's the angriest after losses and who's the angriest after wins. Now, I was interested in reading this because I interact with Ravens fans both on Twitter or X and here with you guys here on YouTube. And yeah, we get the live chat. It's very lively post game, very lively. Let's just put it that way. So I thought to myself, you know what? I bet the Ravens are up there. I bet the Ravens fan base is up there based off of my interactions, but you're never quite sure because you're like, maybe other fan bases are just as passionate. And so what Action did was they scanned both X and Reddit and their comments. I'm sure they're using AI, stuff like that. And they're examining kind of language and language patterns, all that kind of stuff. And for that day of the game and the next day, they checked out all 32 fan bases and what they were saying on these two social media platforms. So they gathered over 10.1 million negative posts. That's what they were looking for. They were looking for negative posts. Okay. And so what they did is they tried to see who had the most negative posts after a game. And I'll be, my gut was right. And I bet you guys are right there with me. The Ravens fan base was the moodiest, number one moodiest fan base after losses. So there was a total from you guys and others of 426,360 negative posts between X and Reddit after games. That's almost half of the total posts, period. So there were 930,000, 426,000 were negative. So that came out to an average of 71,000 negative posts after Ravens losses. And here's what's funny. The Ravens didn't just win with that 71,000 average. They blew everybody else out of the water. Number 2 is Kansas City. Kansas City is the second moodiest fan base after a loss. But you go, there's almost half of the negative. The Ravens fans put up 71,000 negative posts per loss. Kansas City put up 44,000. Then there's another big drop to 35,000 for the Buffalo Bills. And then the Detroit Lions at 33,000, followed at number 5 by the Pittsburgh Steelers at 29,000. If you want me to round out the top 10 list, it goes number 6 is Green Bay Packers, 7 is Philadelphia Eagles, 8 Minnesota Vikings, 9 Atlanta Falcons, and 10 Chicago Bears. That top 4 list, it makes sense. I get why Ravens fans and Chiefs and Bills and Lions fans were upset after losses. Because it's like, you feel like they should have won. You feel like your team should have won. The Ravens, for sure, almost every single loss could have been chalked up to self-inflicted wounds. Just not even playing the way that we know that they were capable of playing. Players and coaches said the same thing. And so, of course, the Chiefs fans felt the same way. Bills fans, Lions fans, they're all some of the best teams in the NFL last year. So what they have in common is they expect big things from their team. They expect their teams to win. And boy, do the Ravens have that expectation. So I get why the Ravens fans, actually, I do get it, why they're the moodiest. And it's not just last year. This is like, it's sometimes you're the angriest when it's been accumulating over years. It's not just like a one-time thing. Ever since 2019, you guys and I, we all know the Ravens have been a Super Bowl caliber team. And so we can come up for all the reasons why they've fallen short. But the fact of the matter is they've fallen short. And so the expectations are high, very high. So, I get it. All right. But what about after wins? Who's the moodiest after a win? Well, son of a bee, here they are again. You guys, Ravens fans. Ravens fans, angry after wins also. Now, this one, they didn't win in such a landslide. After wins, they averaged 38,000 negative posts. Philadelphia, this is who we're with now, you guys. Just know who your company is, okay? Everybody knows the Philadelphia Eagles fan base. Ravens edged them out. They had 34,000 negative posts after wins, followed by San Francisco and Kansas City Chiefs. Here's what they said on the website, the Action website. The Ravens fans' angriest, heaviest criticism came following the team's wild card win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know why. Why? Why are you so negative after that one? Like, that was the most negative? I don't understand that one. They were the least angry after the win over the Giants because it's just like, meh, game, you know? So it's just, you're kind of indifferent. But somebody needs to explain to me why fans were eye of the Taurus. It was me. Why so angry after the Ravens win in the playoffs over the Steelers? Not a fan says you're just talking crap to the Steelers fans. Okay, I can see that. So it comes across as angry, maybe, the way the AI is picking it up. Chris M says Mel is the reason we're at the top after a loss. Yeah. Yeah, look at you guys. I like how some of you are just raising your hand. Hey, raise your hand. Give me the raise hand emoji if it's you. Just give it to me. Say it's me, win or lose. Because I do feel like there's a lot of negativity. And this part I don't like. I feel like both the Ravens and the Ravens fan base have gotten to the point, because they've had so much regular season success, that you can't even enjoy it anymore. Like, nobody even enjoys it. But then you're like triple angry if you lose. So either way, like the happy meter, like you just can't reach it. You expect to win in the regular season. And so you're happy, but still moody. It's like, okay, well, we beat the Steelers, or okay, we beat this team, or okay, we beat them, but whatever, we've been here before. So you can't be happy about it. And then you win like a wild card game. Can't really be super happy about it because that's not the expectation. But you're like triple angry if you lose. So like, it's almost impossible to be happy as a Ravens fan. That world I refuse to live in. I enjoy every single win. Now there's levels to my enjoyment for sure, but I'm not living in an angry, moody world. Okay. Not doing that. So yeah, I don't see anybody. Okay, Osmodius, he's raising his hand. He rose his hand. Smitty, he loves the negativity. I don't know your name. Lots of people raising their hand. Mike M, Mr. Jackson. Woo. And then, you know what I notice? You know what I notice about you guys that are raising your hand, by the way? I have the Taurus. Is if anybody sees anything positive in those wins, you come after them. Oh, you're glazing. And so like, it's not enough that you're negative, but then you want everybody to be negative with you. It's like a bucket of crabs. I love that you guys know yourselves. There is no denial here. None. Nobody's in denial. Tila, you're happy though, right? When we win? Tila's always good. Luke, he says I do that in the chat. There's somebody taking it. Sarah's glazing. You guys are determined to make sure that I am miserable. Miserable after games. Just determined. Okay. Well, there you go. Let's get off to quick hits and finished up. Yeah, Tila says most of the time I'm happy. Yeah, and so you just kind of have to decide what world you want to live in. Do you want to live in a world where like you enjoy sports? That's the world I want to live in. Like, I always used to say with my brothers, because we watch sports all the time. This is before, I'm even working in sports. We would just be watching it and we'd just be like, what would life be like without sports? Life would be nowhere near as thrilling or fun without sports. And so all you people who are trying to suck dry all the fun out of sports until a Super Bowl is won, I can't live in that world. Can't live it. The expectation for me is still that the Ravens win the Super Bowl, but I'm going to enjoy the journey and not just be upset until that goes down. Okay, quick hits. This is funny to me. Some random account, maybe it's not random, it's random to me, says, start a fight with one sports take. Kyle Hamilton's all right. Like, okay, I'll start a fight. Here's his sports take. The Super Bowl should not be a neutral site game. Or it should be in the same city every year, like the way the Masters of the Wimbledon does it. So, Super Bowl in the same city every year. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of going around the country and people getting a chance. Now, I'm more into this idea, should it not be a neutral site? So should a team be able to win home field advantage, not just through their conference, but throughout all of the playoffs, including the Super Bowl, which over the last decade, that means there would have been a lot of Super Bowls in Kansas City. And then, so you know that to win the Super Bowl, you got to go. I got to tell you, when I was at the Super Bowl for New Orleans, when the Ravens won it in 2012, it was weird being in that stadium because it never truly got loud. And I mean, making your ears ring loud. I cannot tell you how many games at the Ravens M&T Bank Stadium. I still remember, like, probably the first time, 2006. A lot of times we were up in the, I was in the press box, and we had glass there, so it kind of insulated us a little bit from the noise. But I remember I was like a celebrity sideline reporter kind of helper there on the sideline in 2006. And I remember a Chargers game where Todd Heap, I'm pretty sure it was him who punched in a game-winning touchdown. Like, I could not, like, it hurt so badly in my ears. It hurt so badly. And so that's kind of the environment you want for a big game. And so at the Super Bowl, yeah, it got loud when teams scored or had a big play, but it's not the same. And so are you willing to sacrifice that and just have energy off the chart if you happen to be the team that's got to go on the road? I actually might be cool with that. But here's the problem. Is every city capable? Here's why it's never going to happen. The entire NFL world descends upon these cities, and a city, I think, needs to prepare for it. And to be able to do that in 2 weeks, or maybe you start planning as if you're going to win a Super Bowl, and you've got to get all city officials, you got to get the mayor, you got to get hotels, you got to get all of that, and to book flights and to book hotels and all that kind of stuff. That can't happen within 2 weeks. Once you know who the two teams are into the championship game. So that's never going to happen. Never going to happen. It's just too much to plan for each city. They can't handle that in 2 weeks. I thought this was funny. So it was announced that Shannon Sharpe, this is crazy talk, is expected to sign a $100 million media deal after his contract with the Volume expired. $100 million. So Micah Parsons, who has his own podcast as a current player and is constantly being told you shouldn't have a podcast, he quote retweets that. And he puts in quotes as if somebody's saying to him, "Stop the podcast, Micah," close quote. And he's like, "Yeah, I." He's like, "No, thank you very much. I will continue to build for my career after football." Because you're seeing these types of deals. Then it's like kind of hard to blame Micah. Now, of course, they didn't have podcasts where players could be talking during the season in the past. So Shannon Sharpe is making this kind of money without a head start. So Micah will be getting a head start, and he wants to hone his skills. So it's like, guys, I can make that kind of money afterwards in the media business. Woo! And I'll tell you what, Shannon Sharpe, I guarantee with the way he talks, because I've followed Shannon Sharpe, not just with the Ravens, but remember, I grew up in Colorado. So I was still in high school when he was playing for the Denver Broncos. He for sure, if he had the opportunity, would have had a podcast back in that day. For sure he would have. He was a talker. Okay, this was hilarious to me. See, Bobby doesn't love some of the quick hits I bring in, but this is the funny stuff I like to bring in. So he's not here, so I just have a million of them. Although he never, I should rephrase that. It's not like he never says, oh, don't bring that in, but sometimes we're in such a hurry, I can't get to it. Okay, LaShawn Shady McCoy, co-host of The Facility, which every single time I bring in a facility clip, you guys, somebody out there is yelling at me. Who cares what they have to say? This is the dumbest show. They don't know what they're talking about. It's clickbait, this and that. And sometimes, maybe a lot of the time, you're right. Which is why this makes this tweet from LaShawn full of irony, just dripping with irony. He tweeted, nowadays, they let anybody talk football, and because of the platform, viewers think they are credible. So he's trying to come out at people for having takes that maybe people shouldn't take seriously. First of all, I'll say this. Give listeners some credit. Maybe not everybody, but the vast majority, if you take listeners, they're not going to, they're listening to people who, they feel like has some credibility. They're saying things that hold some weight for them. But a lot of people make fun of the facility for having dumb takes. So the comment section of this tweet was a little bit funny. So this guy, Finesse Kid, says to LaShawn, he's like, just like you speaking on hoops? LaShawn says, well, I played hoops. Okay. But is that really what, like Eric DaCosta or Howie Roseman, did they have NFL careers? And yet they're two of the best GMs ever. And a lot of times when players turn hosts, they're not all that good. What about players that become coaches? They're not all that good. Just because you play doesn't mean that you're a good analyst. Okay, because some of the playing has to do with like your hard work ethic and your athleticism and some of your God-given talent. You may not have God-given talent to articulate or analyze the game of football for a large audience. So just because you played, that doesn't make you qualified. Another guy says, Dave says, you're literally calling yourself out. Another guy says, some people who played the game ain't credible. Here's the thing. Credibility is earned over time. Credibility is earned over time. And you definitely have a head start if you were an NFL player and you want to move into, the podcasting, broadcasting arena. But you guys come here every day for a reason. Either you like me and Bobby's takes or you don't, but we're providing some other service. But that credibility is built up over time. If Bobby and I had zero credibility, neither one of us ever playing football, although I played in my neighborhood a lot. I played and I took some hits. And I was a pretty good receiver. Does that count? Probably not. But yeah, I'll just say that. We've been doing this show for about 3 years. And people keep coming back for a reason, and we keep growing for a reason. We're getting sponsors for a reason. And I kind of feel like I had better MVP takes than Emmanuel Acho. Shout out to him for coming on the show and being willing to debate it. So, yeah, credibility, it comes with time. And I don't think it matters that somebody played football or not. And by the way, somebody had posted this to just kind of make the point. Is this the type of the debate we should be having? Remember, the day after the Ravens lost to the Bills 27-25, and Lamar Jackson had a phenomenal second half. And this was the question they posed on The Facility with McCoy. Was it a wasted season for Lamar? There you go. All right. I want to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow when we come back. I feel like I want to see some of these comments. Maybe I'll do that after this last quick hit. Adam Schefter reported this morning that Pro Bowl center Cam Jurgens and the Philadelphia Eagles reached an agreement today on a 4-year, $68 million extension that includes nearly $40 million guaranteed that will tie him to Philadelphia through the 2029 season. And so obviously everybody's looking at that and being like, ooh, Linderbaum. That's right where Linderbaum is going to need to be paid. Maybe he's going to want to get a little bit more than that. That's how contract negotiations go. But Linderbaum is a Pro Bowl center, just like Cam Jurgens. And we know that Eric DeCosta has both him and Kyle Hamilton, and that's really what is going to make this difficult. Is Eric DeCosta going to be able to afford the top quarterback in the league in Lamar Jackson? We're talking about a restructure that will make him the highest paid quarterback. Kyle Hamilton's going to want to be the highest paid safety. You gave at the time the highest paid linebacker contract to Roquan Smith. Mark Andrews currently, when he got his contract, he was a top 3 paid tight end. Isaiah Likely's coming up. You've got Matt Abike, who's one of the top paid defensive tackles, probably top 3. At the time, Marlon Humphrey was paid. He was a top 3 cornerback at the time. And so you've got to get a pay raise to Derrick Henry. Is he going to be able to pay everybody? Is somebody going to be left off the list? I'll dive into that more tomorrow. We're already an hour in. It's 1:10. Let's see here. I wanted to see some comments on credibility. I thought I saw one. Well, I don't see it. Okay, let me go over to the super chats. And here's Mike M. Losing the late games will have me waiting up late just to rage with the Voltrons. That's the truth. Waiting for y'all to come on, just tapping my feet and pacing. Woo! It's so funny because I really have trained myself over the years to keep calm. And I think keeping calm makes people even more angry. Like, why aren't you angry with us? Why aren't you losing it? Why aren't you losing it? Certainly not happy. But I can't have that energy in my life. Can't do it. Habitual line stepper. Our fan base has become more toxic over the past few years, especially the ones who are gaslit by media. Also, the Ravens media takes subliminals. Toxic. Are the Ravens fan base moody or is the Ravens fan base toxic? I gotta say, there's a section that I feel like is a bit toxic. Some of the anger, I get it, right? It's like, how did the Ravens do this again? Stop with the penalties. Stop with the turnover. Stop with the game clock. Stop with all of that. So some of that I can be like, I get the anger and frustration. But there is a segment that is a bit toxic. That is, Chris says we're both. Both angry, both moody, toxic, all of it. And I got to say, there's some fan bases that annoy me quite a bit. The Bills fan base was for sure. Even when I wasn't, and it was because I was, fighting for Lamar Jackson to be the MVP last year. Even when I would have posts that were not about Lamar, it's just like they're following me, they're watching every move, so they became annoying. Bengals have definitely become annoying. I don't find the Steelers super annoying right now, and maybe it's just because they're kind of in a humble mode. Philadelphia, I don't think the Ravens play them enough. Kansas City, some of them are for sure annoying because they're like searching for a slight. They're like, they like take the Michael Jordan view where like, you don't mean anything by a comment you make. And they're like twist it and be like, oh, see, nobody believes in us anymore. Nobody believes in it. Like they have to look for disrespect that just isn't there. Like it's just not there. So Chiefs fans are annoying right now. But I'm bringing all that up because it's like, what do you think people have view the Ravens fans as? For sure one of the top, right? For sure one of the top annoying fans. Wouldn't you think? If you're this moody and angry and toxic. Yeah, Mr. Jackson says, yep, and I don't care. Don't care. I hear you. All right, guys. I feel like we got through a lot today. And I feel like we already have a bunch on tap for tomorrow. I want to talk about Tyler Linderbaum a little bit more and what his market is going to look like. Saw a great segment on Get Up this morning that I couldn't get to about other and AFC North teams trying to find a quarterback that can keep pace with Lamar Jackson, the Ravens. So I want to talk about that. I got to listen to all these press conferences, Linderbaum, Roquan, Scott Elliott. So I'm actually going to go do that right now. Maybe tweet some of that. You know, I like to tweet out the quotes, get it all in there. So until then, and Bobby will be back. Bobby will be back. He's going to be flying back late tonight from Denver, Colorado. And then Cameron, to answer your question. So over the weekend, I was invited to speak at my church for Easter, which was simultaneously an honor and a big stress because I wanted to get it right. I was like the main speaker. There's usually 3 speakers. They made it 2, and one they had a high schooler because they wanted to have a youth kind of talk about it. And then the choir was there. They sang 2 songs, and so it ended up being 30 minutes. I had 30 minutes to talk. You guys know I can do that. Shoot, I just talked for an hour without Bobby here right now. I can do that, but I wanted it to be so right. And there's more people at church on Easter. So I got to tell you, we had our normal, we call it sacrament meeting. I know like maybe other churches, it's communion and all that. So we had our normal room completely full. And so they have like these dividers at the back of the room for like an overflow section. So they opened that up and that was full. And then after that, there's another set of dividers that go into our church gymnasium. That was where I remember Bobby showed a picture of where we did high fitness. So they had to open up the overflow room. That was full. So they opened up the back room. And so it went back probably a quarter into the gymnasium. Like it just felt like the audience was like this sea of people. And I'll just say this. I was surprised by how emotional I was. Sometimes I feel like people at church try to push emotion and kind of force it a little bit. And I always tell myself never to do that. And so I stood up and I was like, holy moly, I don't know why I'm so emotional. And so it was a very emotional talk. My main message basically was that we need to awake to the purpose and adventure that God is calling us to. And that if we take up our cross the way Jesus Christ invited us to, his disciples. And what does it mean to take up our cross? It means to, it's something like to dare to take on the worst that life can throw at you. Dare to do that. Dare to take it on and take it on without fear. And if we do that, how does that lead to us being reborn, which is what the promise of Easter is, right? That we will literally someday be physically resurrected and reborn through the gift of Jesus Christ, but also that we can be spiritually reborn. And when we voluntarily, without fear, take on the worst that life throws at us, then the best part of us is made manifest. The best parts of us are made manifest. All of us can say that. I hated going through this in the moment, but boy, am I a better person for it. And I was looking up the practice in therapy of exposure therapy. And I went to this Cleveland Clinic website because I'm out here in Ohio, and it talked about how exposure therapy can be used when people have severe anxiety or even eating disorders or PTSD or OCD, all these kind of different disorders. It has become like a tried and true practice to use exposure therapy, meaning the best way to do it is for somebody to face their fears. They have to look at it. They have to look at their fears right in the eye, which, is, I'll put this qualifier in there though. Exposure therapy can do worse damage if it's not voluntary. Okay. So if somebody's afraid of spiders, you can't be like, oh, I'll cure them and throw a bunch of spiders at them, right? No, it gives them more PTSD. It has to be voluntary. It has to be, okay, I'm going to go look at a spider. Okay. But that's like a generic kind of way of looking at fear. Okay. I'm talking about, for example, putting yourself out there online and you're being picked apart all the time online, right? And I kind of eased my way into that by being on Twitter at first. But then when you're talking live and you can see people being like, I hate what Sarah's saying. This is stupid. All she does, you know what I mean? Like, and then mean stuff can come in. Or how about Bobby and his sister, you guys making fun of them, like as a guest? And it's like, some people might be like, okay, I'm not doing that. And I'm just like teaching myself that it's like, throw your best at me. Throw your best at me. And you could be right. And this is the real fear is what if somebody says something that's right? What if somebody says something negative about you and they're correct? Or how about losing a loved one? How about that? My dad's 88. I know the time is short. And I've already been thinking through. First of all, I'm soaking up all I can with him all the time. He's coming in here Thursday night, by the way. My daughter's being baptized on Sunday. So my 88-year-old father and my 79-year-old mother are going to be here again this weekend. And I'm soaking it up. I'm soaking up as much time with him as I can. But I'm going to face the fear of when he does go. And I'm going to be the strong person that my mom's going to need. I'm facing that fear. It's going to be devastating for him to go. Devastating. What if it's not an aging parent? Okay. Like it's these types of things. Can you dare to shoulder the worst things that are coming at you, and you voluntarily face it the way Christ voluntarily faced his crucifixion and his atonement in the Garden of Gethsemane? Because when you voluntarily face it, that's when you learn how to triumph over it. We're talking about rising again. Mary Magdalene goes to the tomb and he's not there. An angel's there and says, "Why seek ye the living among the dead?" I want to be the living, spiritually speaking, among the dead. I'm living. I'm not with the dead. Why are you seeking the living among the dead? He is not here. The tomb is empty. He is not here. He is risen. You shoulder the worst that life has for you, voluntarily, without fear. You will rise with Jesus Christ. You will rise. That was completely impromptu. I did not expect to go into that depth. But I'm telling you, confidence is born when you realize you can rise above your fears, that you transcend it, that you triumph over it. So if death will not have victory over you in the long run, why should anything else? Why should anything else? Anything that is weighing on you today, anything that is bringing you down, anything that you're afraid of, can you muster the courage to face it and just start trying? Just start trying. I told a very personal story that I will not tell here, but I had a brother who is as close to death's door as anybody I've ever met. So depressed. He had learning disabilities. He got made fun of incessantly, and he did not want to live anymore. 6 different times he tried to end his life. 6 different times. And I could go into detail of how he escaped, people interfering, cops interfering is the word I wanted to use. He was spiritually dead. He was on physical death's doorstep. And he turned it around. He turned it around. 6 different times he tried to end it. He turned it around with a one desperate prayer before the 6th and final time that he was going to try. And it started to turn around. And he said that pain that he once had, he was strong enough to lift it after beginning that prayer and then setting lofty goals. And then he said every time he hit a goal, he just gained more confidence and more confidence and more confidence. And he was avoiding college because of everybody telling him when he was younger that he wasn't smart enough. He was put in, special ed classes for reading, math, all that kind of stuff. Well, then at the age of 26, when he decides to turn it around, he ends up getting a 4-year degree in 3 years. He finds his wife that last year of school, and he finally felt worthy of a wife. They have 3 kids. He starts a business. That business gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. He now has 110 employees, 110 that rely on him. They adopted a fourth child when they thought they were done. And at the age of 52, they had a surprise baby. His wife was 43. So at 52, he had a fifth child. That's like a Zacharias and Elizabeth story, right? Where they have a child in their advanced age. It's because he had such a late start to his renewed life. When you talk about redemption, when you talk about being reborn, that is my brother. I don't give up on anybody. I don't give up on anybody. Redemption is real. Being reborn is real. So that's what my talk was about. About 30 minutes long. I went into much greater detail. I had other things to talk about, but it was an emotional day. It was a spiritual day. It was an energizing day, and it was a relief for me because that talk was weighing on me for about a month. I was trying to get that right. So impromptu. Thank you, Cameron, for asking the question. What a great Easter it was. Afterwards, we had some people over, had some great dinner guests, had some dinner. Great family day. And I hope you guys had a good Easter too. I hope you guys did too. I hope you saw it as an opportunity to start over, take on the worst that's coming at you and transcend it and rise. All right, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We'll get through all the content I already named. I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. I'll talk to you tomorrow at noon with Bobby back in the vault. See you then.